I was going to be discussing David Sullivan today, but I think it's fair to say there's still some, or very recently at least, been some uncertainty about David Moyes' job, and we didn't even scratch the surface really yesterday thinking about it. And I've read through all of your comments so far in yesterday's video. I say yesterday's still the same day for me, but having read through so many of your comments, it's quite clear that there's still an awful lot to discuss, and so many of you made some really good points. And just to, nail my colours to the mast here, which I think I've done if you've watched these videos regularly enough, I thought we did a fantastic job over lockdown, and then for us to come out of it in the way that we did, Wolves game aside, which was a terrible result and a terrible performance. After that, the performances were by and large pretty damn good. Even Burnley, what did we have? As I say, 19 shots, 10 corners, something like that. We were all over them, and there was some heroics from Pope in goal and some dodginess from Tchaikovsky at the back. So I think David Moyes has done quite a sterling job. He conducted himself well, and whilst that doesn't mean you deserve the job, I do think it goes some way to impressing during what was probably a difficult time. I also think the fact that he's kept us up twice, you've got to get some credit for that. But it's not the be-all and end-all. The be-all and end-all, of course, is football. And I actually thought it was pretty good. What happens from the lockdown to now, which is us obviously just securing our safety against Watford, well, we've scored a lot and conceded a lot, which is probably not the hallmarks that you would expect from David Moyes, and more what we expected from Pellegrini in many respects. But I think I'm quite enjoying the way the game's going, and just listening to, I think it was his comments about the game, Watford. He said, David Moyes said, I thought we attacked really well in the first half, and I thought we defended well in the second half, and tried to shut things down a bit. Okay, is that particularly what we want to see? No, I guess we want open, expansive football, attacking all the time. But I think to think that no manager's going to try and shut things down at any point during any game is probably a bit like, not just naive, but I think we had a little bit of that medicine when we had Pellegrini there as well. So I think for me, looking at what Moyes is trying to do, I don't think he's quite as negative in his approach as I thought he might be. I feared he might be completely negative. Particularly after his first stint, I was not too pleased that we had a number of games where we sort of had 23% possession is the number that sticks in my mind. And there's been some times where we had no shots on goal, but I do remember towards the end of Pellegrini's reign, there was times when we didn't have a shot on target and stuff like that. And obviously to win any game, that's incredibly important. Once you start dealing with the fine detail and what should we say, preferences of how you score those goals, we're not at that stage yet. We're not able to be as fussy as that, and we've seen it before with numerous teams. When they get that fussy, they sort of come a cropper. Really, I think Charlton spring to mind when Kirbishley was there, and they got rid of Kirbishley and wanted to go to the next level. Charlton, I remember that clearly. Well, there was no next level for Charlton. That was the level. That was as good as it was going to get. Bolton under Allardyce, I remember their chairman Phil Gardside basically wanted to play some more attractive football, so he got rid of Allardyce. Well, it didn't really work out too well for them either, did it? Because quite frankly, Bolton Wanderers were punching well above their weight, and regardless of what any of us think of Allardyce, that was probably the best job of his career. Obviously, the finest position he ever held was the England job, but actually, in terms of suitability, club Allardyce, that really was a match made in heaven. The other one that springs to mind is Pulis and Stoke, and they were long ball, long throw in, and they searched for something expensive. And I just use those examples because those are three that have not done so well. Now there will be other examples of those that have, but my point really being is that I don't think at the moment we can be too fussy about how we're scoring our goals. So if what's happening is half our goals are coming from set pieces or a crossover to the big fella at the back stick to nod it in, then I think fair enough. But I've not found it just to be that. I've found that actually I found some of it quite entertaining. I found some of the football quite attacking. I've said on there a number of times, I prefer Liverpool's style of play, for instance, to Man City's. Whilst I'm not saying we're anything near Liverpool, I'm not that fussed about 100 passes to score a goal. I'm quite happy with 6. You know, it reminds me when Alan Pardew came in. And he said he quite likes the West Ham way, but we need to attack in less passes to get a goal scoring opportunity. And I don't think anybody would say that Alan Pardew was particularly long ball. So Moyes, I think, deserves a chance. Not only does he deserve a chance, I like him. I like him as a man. I like the fact he keeps on saying, he said we quite a lot in the most recent press conferences. Silly little thing, isn't it? But it made me think that he's bought into the club. I think he's bought into the club. He's bought into the local community, as can be seen by he was doing the volunteer work during the lockdown. And I like the fact that he's conducted himself really, really well in and around the club. And added to that, and the most important thing, I'm warming to the football. I think he's made a hell of a job of his signings, as I've covered in other videos there. You could, you might argue that Randolph wasn't the best sign in the world, but it needed to be done. Roberto was an absolute shambles. It just showed that Moyes had seen the games before he'd come in, seen Roberto, and clearly said that guy cannot feature at all under me. So you know, I thought that was impressive, and quite frankly, Bowen and Souček are along with, let's say, Ogbonna, Declan Rice, and of course Mikel Antonio. Those two have been pivotal in us staying up. I think it's fair to say, without the signing of those two, we don't stay up. I don't think that is an outrageous thing to say. Take their goals, take their assists away. You know, all right, maybe with no Mark Noble playing in midfield, maybe he does score as many penalties as Souček scored goals. Maybe Yarmolenko does get as many assists as Bowen, but maybe not. I think they were two absolutely outstanding signings. And it makes me... I don't want to keep beating him with the Hugill stick, because I'm not entirely sure what was going on there. And in actual fact, maybe he did just buy Hugill with a view to playing in the Championship because he thought we were going down. Was that a wise thing to do? No. Was it a waste of £9 million? Yes. But is Hugill an okay player in the Championship? Yeah, he's all right. I don't think it would have done us too much harm had we gone down there. But I don't want to keep using that, because I do think that was a bad transfer for West Ham. I don't want to keep using that as a stick to beat with. Let's look at the most recent ones. And that makes me relatively hopeful for who he might bring in. It makes me feel that there's a structure. It makes me feel that there's a little plan going forward with that. And I'm interested to see who the fullbacks might be, who the striker might be that he brings in. I'm a little bit more worried with what will happen maybe on the left side of midfield. The Fornal situation, the Felipe Anderson one, will he include Dean Garner? I think that's interesting. I'm not saying that David Moyes is the perfect manager. There are things that worry me, particularly the deployment of Fornals out on that left-hand side, but it's got us over the line. Just in the same way that what he did last time, which was turning Arnautovic from a winger into a striker and putting Lanzini up next to him, it was enough to get us over the line. And I think it's all right. I'm quite happy with it. But I just wanted to read a couple of your posts, which you so kindly left, really quickly after it. And again, you do so well with these comments, because you make your points well, whether you agree or you disagree with me. First one's Tony. Tony, my mate Tone, with the hello, with the dressing gown and the what's it. He basically said avoiding relegation doesn't constitute heroism for him. It didn't with Allardyce and an inferior squad, so why should it with Moyes? He said he likes him, he's a good bloke, he cares and works hard, but he doesn't rate him. Basically, Tony's not thrilled. He says, does he deserve his chance next season in the context of excellent attitudes, work rate, and apparently healthy partnership with Kevin Nolan? He thinks yes. And also, but Tony's worried that Sullivan would hire an absolute turkey there. Eddie says that Rice's celebration indicates he has a positive relationship with Moyes. And he says that is enough to give it some hope. That's enough reason for Sullivan to say to Moyes, retain the job, because basically you're more likely to keep Declan Rice here. Nick says Moisey is growing on me big time. Moisey, my mate Moisey. My showbiz name, that's Dom. Look, I could read Dom's message out, but I'm pretty sure he's going to give us an audio clip quite soon, so we'll wait for that. Gary Edwards made a really good point. He said Moyes can be as good as the next manager if he's backed with decent money. Our main problem is buying well-known injury-prone players and over-the-hill players. He's absolutely right, but I have enough. Sometimes you just got to put your faith in people. Sometimes you just got to believe what they say. And if what Moyes is saying is he wants to buy younger, hungrier players, then hopefully the older injury ones that Gary is alluding to, and Gary's not wrong, by the way. Maybe those days are gone. D. Lee, regular viewer, he says it's been the worst Premier League relegation scrap of all time. He said, my mum could have kept us up. I see nothing to be happy about. Good luck for next season, minus Rice and all the angst around the club. Get ready for another relegation tangle. But some fans see this as success. Oh, how you all forget. Now, I think half of that's true. I think it's highly likely that that there will be another relegation scrap. That's where we are. Can he make it so as we're not scrapping relegation, say with 10 games to go? I think that would be progress. Some fans forgot. I don't think anyone forgets. I really don't. I don't think anyone's forgotten anything. I think everybody is fully realistic about where we are. This was an interesting post from the final whistle. He said Moyes has won 268 Premier League games, 170 draws. The first time the board would have kept Moyes, but they didn't because the fans didn't want him. I totally agree with that, by the way. I think there was massive pressure from the fans to say to the board, we don't want this guy. The football is awful. He said Sunderland were and are a basket case. I think what he's doing is here, he's giving mitigation to why Moyes did so badly at these clubs. He said Sociedad were basically the Spanish version of West Ham. Moyes wanted to modernise, overhaul it, but they wouldn't. His approach is to look at whole operation, but apparently Sociedad just wanted a coach, and the language didn't help either. It's time to build a club. Dyche has had that. Moyes hasn't since Everton. I think those particularly are really good points. I mean, he's basically saying Sean Dyche had the chance to build up something at Burnley, and this is what he did. The whole building of a club is what Moyes did at Everton. So do we give him that chance? Well, and here's what I think, and here's what I think is quite important with this. If we don't give him that chance, then we start again. And if we start again, then the next manager comes in. New coaches come in as well. There's still no infrastructure in place. My thought is that Moyes is far more likely to build a coaching and scouting infrastructure than David Sullivan is, who was meant to be the subject of today's video, but we will get onto him at another time. David Sullivan is far more likely to do what he does, and that's revert to type and just rely on agents to recommend players to him. And as you said before, we know the lads, the Sullivan boys, are quite keen to recommend a player here or there as well. I think if what you want is, whether you like him, whether you don't like him, football. Moyes is a football man. Kevin Nolan's a football man. Clearly, Paul Nevin is a football man. He's even coached with England very recently and under Gareth Southgate. So these are people that know their football. Is it the Barcelona model of of highlighting players or this, that, and the other? No, it's not. But it is an infrastructure of some sort. And when you don't have anything, when you don't have an infrastructure, actually an infrastructure of some sort by football people is not to be sniffed at. That's something that could really benefit us. So I'm all up for letting him. Not that I have any say in it, but I'm all up for letting him have a go. Let's see what he can build. He's done the relegation scrap a couple of times. He's proved successful. This club desperately needs stability on all fronts. It really does. The changing of the stadium, the changing of the training ground, the constant chopping and changing of managers, the scouting network, everything. We are desperate for some stability, and we are desperate for somebody other than David Sullivan to be given some football responsibility, to say, you build this up. I don't want Sullivan's sticky paws all over the scouting and all of that. He's got to learn to take. I don't know. We'll deal with this in another video. I'm far from convinced Sullivan stays, by the way, anyway. But we'll deal with this in another video. But the manager's got to be allowed to manage. And I think Sullivan does do that. I think he lets people manage, but also the football people have got to be allowed to do with the football stuff. They've got to select the players. And I just want to give Moyes. I think he deserves a chance, and I am quite excited about it. I don't feel like I'm saying it to give him a favour. I feel like there's stuff to look forward to. I'm excited about the shape of the team next season. I don't mean the tactical shape. I mean the look of what the team might be. I think, by and large, not a lot changes. As you saw in a video before, I don't think you'll see 5 of those players in the starting lineup vastly different, but I think 2 or 3 might. And I think we're okay. We're not a bad team. We're a threat to some teams. And I think if you can improve the weak points, and I think that's what he'll do. He's not going to go and try and improve the strong points, is he? He's not going to go and try and sell Ogbonna and get a better Ogbonna. He's not going to sell Souček and get a better Souček. No, he's going to address where we're weak, and then he's going to try and improve that. And I think, bearing in mind we've seen, Moyes has never had a pre-season. So that lockdown was as close to we've seen as Moyes having a pre-season. I want him to have a pre-season. It's going to be different this time because, again, there's only a month between it. But it gives him an opportunity to get his ideas across on the training ground. It gives his coaches more of a chance to work for longer with the players. It allows us to get some stability. It allows him to work on his shape. It allows him to work on his formation. It allows him to get the players in that he wants to get in. Round pegs in round holes. And I think it might give us a better chance. Do I think that we're going to be challenging for the Champions League or anything like that? No, I don't. I actually think baby steps to make us better. The dream has gone. The 10-year plan, the challenging, it's not worked. The stadium move has not worked. Do I think we sit back and accept all that? No. I think there are questions. There are no other videos that need to be answered. But at this particular time, I do feel that we need to move forward in small steps. And to move forward in small steps with stability and someone at the helm who not only he knows he's going to be there for a while, the chairman knows he's going to be there for a while, we know he's going to be there for a little while, and so do the players. And if that man is David Moyes, in all honesty, I would take David Moyes now, knowing he's there for the remainder, than the uncertainty of starting all over again with Sean Dyche.